against Washington. I might throw the ball 20 times in this game. You know why? I don't need to. I can run Washington over with my dominant offensive line. Welcome aboard National Football Show. It's your boy Big Sills, hour number 2. I know we swept the top of the hour. We'll take you a little bit further into this hour. We look forward to talking with you again about the Washington and Philadelphia game on Sunday, some other NFL news. Caesar from Chile, thank you. Great steaks. Great tea, actually, too, in Chile. If you ever get there, the tea shops are spectacular there in Chile. Really a great country, man. A lot of fun, too. You're there on the ocean. Really good stuff, man. Great country. Great country. Please hit the like button, everybody. John C., do you think the Eagles are going to land a pass rusher before the trade deadline? You mean try to get that guy out of Chicago, Robert Quinn? Hey, man, I'd love to have Robert. But if you put Robert Quinn on that Eagle defense, shoo, man, would I like to have Robert Quinn? But, dude, they gambled with Hasson Reddick. They rolled the dice. I think those were the two options. Howie was either going to try to make a deal to try to get Robert Quinn out of Chicago or Hassan Reddick, and he went with Hassan Reddick. A lot of people liked Hassan Reddick. I never did. I kept telling you when they signed him. Remember when everybody got all excited? I went, I don't know. From day one, I was never really overly thrilled with Hassan Reddick at 6'1", 233. Where are you going to play him? And 3 teams now have not found a position for him. And people point out double-digit sacks the last 2 teams. I get it. That's the only thing keeping him in the league. Can't cover, can't tackle. I don't know. Okay? I'm saying. But Sydney, it's not just that Robert Quinn had 17 sacks last year. It's that he's got over 100 in his career. Okay? GT, you like Reddick? I just don't think he's a every down edge rusher. I think he's a situational guy that you bring in like a nickel dime back. I don't think he's a guy that plays 3 down. He's not a 3. Dude, you're paying a guy $15 million not to be a 3 down guy? That's a little bit overpaying to me. Isn't a sack a tackle? Sure, 5-star. Okay. He can't. How about this? Here, I'll even be more demonstrative. He can't play to run. How's that for you? You want to go there? I was trying to be kind. But since you wanted me to be a jackass, 5-star, okay, he can't tackle. And he can't cover backs, and he can't cover tight ends. Is that what you wanted? That's what you got. He's one-dimensional. Okay? There. I was trying to be kind, but you didn't want me to be. You wanted me to be honest. Okay? Can't tackle, can't cover backs, can't cover tight ends. One-dimensional at 6'1", 233. End of story. Okay? Donald, I don't think he's a bust. I don't think they're using him right. And I don't think he's playing well. I think this guy's got to get in there, and I think this guy's got to go out, and he's got to play also. Stop thinking about all this crap. Okay? Omar goes, you wanted to do that. No. That's better, Sills. We have to be honest here. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough, dude. Okay? Fair enough, man. You got me. Way to go, 5-star. Okay. Hey, you didn't like me being a little nice to Hassan Reddick? See what some of these guys do, man. Okay? See? No, Sills. That's not what we want here. Caesar says, hey, Sills, greetings from Chile. What is your opinion on the wide receiver court? Will Smith be able to handle the pressure of having AJ in the group? Absolutely. He's a professional. He's one of the best route runners in the sport. He is a great teammate. and I have great respect for Devontae Smith. I don't think he'll ever fulfill the numbers that people thought he would have. Like, he'll never have Jamar Chase numbers, but he'll be an impact player for Philly. Watch this. See, people don't understand. In an offense like Philadelphia has, 950 yards or 1,100 yards is going to be the equivalent to 1,500 yards in Cincinnati. You know why? Cincinnati can't run the ball. There's going to be games like here, this game against Washington on Sunday. There should be 65 rushes against Washington. I might throw the ball 20 times in this game. You know why? I don't need to. I can run Washington over with my dominant offensive line. They're not going to be able to. If they get into a passing game with Washington, why would you do that? You keep Washington in the game because you know you're going to have 3 and outs. If I were Shane Steichen and Nick Sirianni, I would run the ball until someone said, no mas. I'd run that thing right down their throat. Washington can't stop the run. That D-line, their tackles are decent. The rest of the thing, I think their linebackers are average. Their secondary is not very good. And because Chase Young's not in the building, they don't really have an edge rusher, I'd run them over. You control the clock, field position, limited in turnovers. You have no chance for tip passes. Like that turnover that Jalen had, that should never count against quarterbacks, those tip passes. I hate that stuff. He's played great ball his first 2 games, then he gets a tip and he gets an interception. That's so dumb, and I hate that. Okay? I hate it. Swansky says, so you have to see more from Hurts. Reddick is already a mistake. Yeah, because it's his 3rd team in 3 years. Yes. I told you that already. 3 teams in 3 years. Nobody's figured out a position for him. And the Eagles have not figured out a position for him either. There's a reason he's on his 3rd team. Haven't you plugged that in? Good night, man. Use common sense sometimes, guys. It's not that hard. They have the worst run defense. GT, for all the equity that they spent and all the draft assets that they gave to go into that defense and build that defense up for Ron Rivera, completely underproducing. Okay? Completely underproducing. Swift killed the Eagles too. Blunt says free agent Jason Pierre-Paul. How much does he have left? I'm not ready to say Reddick is a mistake. Once again, Reddick is a good player. Jonathan Gannon doesn't know what to do with him either. And I never thought that defensive coordinator would. Okay? They need to use him properly. Alexander, what is that properly? Okay? What is that? What does that mean? There's only one thing you can... You know why they don't want to use him properly? Because it's a mistake to pay a guy that's a 1-down guy, 3rd-down guy, $15 million. You can't have one of your highest paid defensive football players only play 3rd down and paying him $15 million. It's not good. That's a Howie bust. That's an overpay and overreach. And by the way, isn't there multiple years on his contract? I'm going to get to Washington here in a minute. He's better off just pass rushing, at least have him play Sam Blitz. Jeff, that's a good way of looking at it. I don't have a problem. He'd probably be more productive. Hey, didn't you guys, before I get into Washington, how about what Joe Theismann said about how you see teams play? Maybe that's one of the reasons, too, that the Eagles even, second half scoring, both games, is that a conditioning issue? We saw that in the Washington-Detroit game. Detroit got after Washington in the first half, Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks. I mean, the thing was unbelievable. They were moving Carson Wentz all over the pocket. All of a sudden, the second half came, they were out of gas. They were completely out of gas. I don't know. Did we see a little bit of that? I think there was a lot of energy on Monday night. That thing went pretty much 60 minutes, didn't it, with the Eagles? I don't think there was like a lack of energy in the second half. They came out and balled on both sides of the ball. So, and plus I thought they played. I still would like to see more pass rushing. I think the Eagles are still limited in pass rushing. Okay? How about this? Not so much the sack numbers, the pressures. Get more pressures. Move those guys around a little more. Okay? Will Cox show up? GT, this is going to be a big game for him. Short work week. You travel on the road, divisional game. Will he be able to string 2 games in a row? He hasn't since I've been watching him in a year and 2 games. He has not done that. As a matter of fact, he'll play 1 good game. Remember I told you? Next 6 will be common. 14-4 is not common. That's a big salary. Need a little more out of that. So get this. If Fletcher doesn't show up on Sunday and Hassan doesn't show up, you got $30 million in guys who aren't doing anything for you. That's not a good look. And I'm going to make a point to you before I get on to Washington here. Okay? I want to make a point to you. Howie's secondary is stepping up and looking good. Howie's D-line's not. Now, the 2 tackles did a hell of a job, 62 yards rushing against Minnesota, and they got Dalvin Cook. First game they gave up $150 plus in rushing. Okay? So it's kind of like mixed messages there. Then again, Detroit's got a good old line. Minnesota doesn't. This team doesn't either, and it's worse than Minnesota's. So the D-line and the pass rushing and all, secondary's been great. It's been great. If you take the 8 quarters so far, with all the new players and learning new schemes, CJ coming in, only been there about 17 days now, and he's learning this whole new system, technique-wise, what they're asking him to do in alignment. Been pretty good back there. Fly says, Seals, your opinion on Jordan Davis up to this point. I don't know. He's a dude out there right now. He's nothing special. Okay? He's nothing special right now. Yeah, but Scott, he's nothing special. I don't see special. And so if he's playing on first and second down and you're taking him out on third down, I don't know. Let's see. By the way, way too early on him. Way too early. Okay, let's get to the bye, and then we'll have a better assessment on him. But right now, I don't see anything special. This guy tests well. This guy had a great college career, I think. And I just, for the 13th pick, I don't know. That's not a Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh immediately, when he got to Detroit, Ndamukong Suh owned the place. I think his rookie year, he had 10 sacks. I thought he would be something kind of like that, maybe, but far from that. Far from that. He's not in the conversation with Ndamukong Suh yet. Sydney, okay. But Sydney, so he'll get in condition each week. You pay a guy 13th pick money, and he's got to get in shape. Shit, man, isn't that something that should be built into the player? You know, I don't like that. You know, when I have to hear, well, a couple more weeks will be in. You weren't ready for the season. What you're telling me is that he wasn't ready for the season and the start of the season. How could you not be ready? Now, that could be that's a league thing too. So I want to be fair to Jordan. That's a league thing also. Okay? Suh wasn't a nose. Well, I'll tell you what, Brian. Are you going to put the 13th pick on a nose guard? What nose guard do you remember being picked 13th? Don't you think they had loftier plans for him to play DT and to get over there and be more of a dude? You pick nose guards in the 3rd round, not the 13th pick, and take him out on 3rd down. So he's not an every down lineman that you drafted. Again, way too early, but right now that's who he is. Okay? And like I said yesterday, the other guy, Nakobe Dean, can't even get on the field. Now, that's because the linebacker play's been pretty good. TJ Edwards has been the most valuable player on the defense so far in the first 2 weeks. Slay in the first game, second game, spectacular. TJ, first 2 games, he's been great. He's been all over the place. Okay? Dan, I agree that these professionals should be ready, but this is built into the NFL. Lucius, I agree with you, man. Or Lucius, I agree with you. I think that's built in today. Okay? Scott, I agree. I think TJ Edwards and Kaiser White have been fabulous. Kaiser White has been just a great pickup. He's just been a great pickup. And by the way, Edwards was all over the field on Monday night. I mean, down the sidelines, up and down the sidelines, scrape lanes, getting back in pass protection, covering backs and tight. Man, I'll tell you, man, he was as versatile as you can get. You know how hard it is to find guys that can play the run, fill the hole, get back in the zone, cover the seam, cover tight ends, backs out of the backfield, recognize, not take false steps. That kid did it all, man. When you watch TJ Edwards play, I'll show you what a lot of young guys do. Okay, plays coming this way, right? There'll be an influence somewhere. Backs. Maybe this guard will go away. Young players will do this. They'll bite. You see this? Watch this. I'm going to show you the difference in college and in pros. I'm going to show you the distance. And you'll understand how hard it is to play linebacker. Watch this. This guy in front of me is the guard. This guy here is the center. And you're lined up over him. This guard will influence you. And you'll step this way. He goes out. They run a trap play on you. That's all they need is you just leaning. In the pros, this lean gets you blocked. False steps get you blocked in the NFL. One false step. In college, you can make a false step, grab the guy in college, dump him, and still be in the hole and make a play because you're that much better. In the pros, it's all about angles. When that guy blocks away like that, your first notion, that's why you always have to read your keys. I always tell young players this. Never follow the ball, follow your keys, because your keys will take you to the ball. When you start getting tired, and you see Jordan do this all the time, what's he do? He gets up and plays high. He's trying to cheat because he's not in shape. And when you're playing high, you get blocked. In that league, you get up high like that, I don't care if you're 6'7", 348 pounds. You're going to get blocked if you play high because they've got the leverage on you, and they're going to turn you in the hole. And that's what happens to him late in games because he's out of shape. He starts getting high like this. You see a lot. It's a young player's deal. You'll try cheating because you're tired. And you'll try to see where the ball is. And that's where he'll take you this way and you're blocked. So young players, watch this. As soon as this guy goes away, my head automatically goes inside because they're going to try to come back with a trap play or a wham play coming in with the tight end or a running back. I know immediately when he takes that split and he steps this way, wham, I've got to look back inside because I know they're trying to wham me inside, trap me, scoop or slip me. That's just playing and understanding the position. But you got to be in shape for all that. A lot of young guys will take that influence. Boom, you're blocked. He goes away and you step with him, linebacker, like Nakobe takes false steps. He'll take a false step. Center's on him. He's blocked. He's turned him. If Cox and Hargrave can be moved, do you that as soon as possible? Hopefully Jordan Davis doesn't get any food contract. Hey, man, you hope he gets all the things he possibly can get. Let me get into Washington now and go into the Commanders here. So far of what I've seen in the first 2 ball games with them. They play behind, man, in every ball game they've been in, even the one they won against the Jags. Jags are improved. They're improved. The Lions are a good team. We said that remember I told you that I said that Washington team, after watching them in Hard Knocks, Barrett thought it was going to be a blowout. I said, no, this thing's a 3-point ball game. This thing's a 3-point ball game, and I said this game's going to be close. And it was. It was a 3-point ball game. Because of the O-line, Penei Sewell, the center, and they were banged up in that offensive line. So they really handled, I thought, Washington effectively. But what shocked me was that they ran out of gas in the second half. Detroit did. See, Detroit doesn't have a rotation that Philly has. Philly's going to be able to rotation you because they have depth. Washington doesn't have that, and nor does Detroit. That's why Detroit ran out of gas, because they don't have good players behind Aiden Hutchinson and some of these other guys. The Eagles have that, so they can rotation these guys. They could send in a Milton Williams. They can move guys and slide them around with Jordan Davis. They can do all that stuff. Okay? They don't have to be in the greatest condition, Philly, because they're deeper. That's how they're going to get away with this. So Washington is going to have their hands full. In my opinion, I'm going to say this here, and I don't really like to do that fortune-telling stuff, but I'm going to do it. If that Philadelphia Eagle defensive front does not take care of Washington, we got problems. We got problems on what? Consistency. You lay an egg against Detroit, you play great on Minnesota, and you give a half-ass effort. And don't give me short work week. Washington's on a short work week in a way as well. They had to travel to Detroit. They had to get back. They do get the extra day, but they were on the road also. Washington had to go on the road to Detroit. It was a Sunday, and I'm not saying there's no doubt the Eagles have a less day, but they were on a road trip too. Eagles played at home. Okay, that was a home game for them. So Washington had to go on the road and play in Detroit. That's a factor. But Washington's O-line, I don't believe you can handle the Eagles front. So like I said a couple minutes ago, I think you run the ball right down their throat, and I think you run Miles Sanders until his wheels fall off. And I don't want Jalen Hurts involved too much in the run game here. I want him to do sprint outs, but don't put him in harm's way here. There's no reason for it. Sanders is averaging 85 yards a game. Run him. You got one of the best running attacks in the league. Last year, he had the best running attack. And you're going against the worst rush defense in the league. Why throw the ball? Because why? You want your fantasy fans to love you? There's no need for this. See, this is the thing that the Eagles have that is different than most teams. They can run it, and now potentially they have a chance to spread you out and throw the ball around a little bit. But you got to be smart here. You got 15 more ball games. Okay? You know what? You've got to be kind of like what a chameleon is. How do I attack Washington? You don't attack Washington with the same game plan that you had against Minnesota. You have to come up with a customized game plan. That's why every Wednesday we get game plans on particular teams on what their strengths and weaknesses and tendencies and trends are. It's called a trend book. And from so far what I've seen with Washington, they get behind early. because they can't defend. They can't defend their quarterback, and they can't defend the run or the pass. They're not really great on both sides of the ball. Do they have playmakers? Absolutely. And because of the way the league is in conditioning, a lot of teams don't have the depth. Remember when I told you remember what I told you about the Eagles? I said, look, I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles have the best roster in the NFC, but what I do think they do have is the deepest. This is where this plays a factor here. This is where this rears its head against a team like Washington. Use it. Put Milton Williams in. The kid's a good ball player. Play some of these other guys. Get them out there. Put them out in space. I would rush Hasson Reddick as many times as I possibly can in this ball game. And I'd put a linebacker behind him. And if a back came out of the backfield, I don't want him caring about that because he can't do it. Get to the quarterback. This quarterback can't take pressure. Every game that I watched this year with Carson Wentz, I went back and watched what the Jags did. Hey, man, the Jags knew exactly what to do. They moved him around in the pocket. They gave him internal pressure. He dances too much. Pat, 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 sack. Okay? You know when you get the third pat, he's going down. His pocket presence and feeling pressure. So, listen, you may not get to him initially, but to me, this is going to be effort. When you playing against Carson Wentz, if you give up after your first move and you think you're done, I say most of the time people have success against Carson Wentz is in their second move. Just keep the motor going. He's going to run into you. There's two things that Carson Wentz does in ball games that drives me crazy. He'll throw it to the other team because he tries to needle it in there. And you know what he does? He will run into a sack because he can't feel it. Jalen feels it. Jalen knows when people are around him. I think that's an innate sense that some guys have and some guys don't. Boomer Esiason was great at it. I think Brady has a great sense of the pocket. Manning had a great sense of it. Okay? But Carson Wentz, the first two games, I watched him run into more sacks than any quarterback I've seen in the last 2 years. And it was like he goes into a fetal position and trying to get out of there. Look, I'm going to tell you a secret that Steve Mariucci showed me. There's doorways for quarterbacks to go out. Guy rushes wide, and he comes around the corner. You go through the front door. You come underneath. You roll out to your left. That's called the front door. Same thing on this side. Guy comes up, comes in. You go out the back door. They got all these escape. There's 4 of them. 2 in front, 2 in the middle. And if you don't have internal pressure, you could step up in the pocket. So you, in theory, have 5 doorways to get out of pressure. These quarterbacks are told that and taught that. You got a sack guy coming around the corner here. You come underneath and you go through the front door. Guy comes back here. You go through the side door. You go through the back door on this side. We're told all this as defensive players. That's why you've got to keep containment. And that's why you can't break down the edges. And a guy like Jalen breaks those edges down like that. John, Wentz is so reckless in the pocket. I'm going to throw a stat at you. Do you know in the last 19 ball games, Carson Wentz has thrown 34 touchdowns and 10 picks? That's spectacular. That's not bad, good. That's spectacular. He's thrown 34 touchdown passes and 10 picks in his last 19 ball games. You tell me that's bad? I'll throw 25 teams at you that would take that in a second. I mean, look, the Eagles in the last 19 ball games have 17 touchdown passes. This guy's got double the Eagle touchdown passes in the last 19 games. But his fundamentals in the pocket, I mean, and I think he's playing as tough as he can. I'm hearing all the good things coming out of Washington. It's early, though. We'll see when adversity hits him. Okay? Why isn't Carson still with the Colts? Gee, you should ask the Colts that. They're 0-2. Okay? Hey, Eagle fan goes, Wentz moves like a 10-man lube with Sills' hairspray. I don't use hairspray, dog. Women use hairspray. Men don't use hairspray. Okay? Remember that. Men use gel. Okay? Men don't use hairspray. Okay? Women use hairspray. Hurts has 10 times more rushing touchdowns. Congratulations, Theo. The one thing the Eagles don't want him to do is run with the ball because they know he's going to get killed. None of the elite quarterbacks in the game that have won Super Bowls are leading the NFL in Tom Brady and all the great quarterbacks. I wonder what their touchdown totals are rushing the ball. Eagle fan, I know what you meant, man. The 10-man awesome. He was always the best playing outside the pocket. I see a lot of issues similar to Donovan with him. They were never going to be great pocket passers. They are playmakers. He's just got to be better in the pocket, man. He's got to have better pocket presence. Sills, wish I still had any edge. I'm going to hang on to mine as long as I can, brother. Big Sills ain't going bald yet. GT, you're right, man. I get it. I get it. And you're dead right. You're dead right on that. How you figure that, Sills? Eagles have designed runs for Hurts. I know. I get it. I get it. I'm already going bald, says Xander. All right, I got to take a time out here, okay? Do me a favor, I want to get back on course here a little bit. So, hey, my friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free, and that means this. They don't get paid unless you do. Morgan & Morgan is there to protect you and your family if you've been hurt or injured on the job, like no other attorney firm in the country. For the people is not a slogan. It is who they are. With over 800 attorneys in offices in Philly, New York, and in Florida, nobody will defend you like Morgan & Morgan. Call them at 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. The call is free. The consultation's free. Every time you call Morgan & Morgan, when they pick the phone up, there's no case too small or too big. They're there to defend you. 800-512-1600. And when you call Morgan & Morgan, tell them Big Sil sent you.
After a car crash, the big insurance companies you see advertising on TV, they may try to downplay your case and might say it's only a fender bender or it's just a herniated disc. I worry that some law firms fall for this BS. Not us. We put ourselves in your shoes and ask, what would it be like to be in your pain for the rest of our lives? $1 million wouldn't be enough for me. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com.